All right, I'd like to call to order the Economic Development Committee meeting for City of Smithville, April 25th.
All right, and we're going to do roll call. Alicia Neff,
Here.
Adam Royds,
Here.
Eric Brown, Steve Langley,
Here.
Kelly Kabilski, Carol Noker,
Here.
Erica Winston,
Here.
and Dan Hartman.
I'm here.
And the next item on the agenda is the minutes from the March 28th regular meeting. I did notice an error. So the amendment would be to the attendance. I had Steve, Kelly, and Carol on there twice. So I would make that correction.
Steve was not here. I motion to accept the meeting minutes with the changes.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
All right. Okay, and then reports, we can start with the chamber.
Okay, I think everybody knows now that the executive director position is now full-time, officially April 1st. New members are Mayor Boley and Friends of Megan's Paws and Claws. The podcast that I spoke about last month, I did do that. It is on our website underneath the chamber tab and then chamber events. I was hoping that we were going to be talking about several events in Smithville, and he wanted to focus on the barbecue bash. So, but I did promote the chamber website and mention that we were going to have several events all throughout the year to keep checking back. And I think that's all I've got.
So you were working almost full-time, but it wasn't a full-time position. Is that what I just heard?
Yes.
That's what I figured. So congratulations, you finally got it to full-time.
Thank you.
All right, and Carol, school district.
Not a lot to report. We are working on, I'm working on next year right now. Trying to get things arranged for the students for next year. Internships, we're doing a small number of internships, trying to match up. So really trying to vet business partners as well as students for our first round of external internships. We already do a few internally for the district. But working on setting that program up because I know once we do it, we'll expand quickly. And scheduling for the next year, already discussing next year's career fair for the high school, have done some career events for the elementary schools, and just really trying to be intentional about working with our business community and making sure that we're not overworking, overdoing, and trying to be streamlined, rather than having multiple people reaching out, trying to be that one point of contact for the district as far as the real world learning events. And yeah, it's end of year testing, map testing and so forth. So teachers are extremely busy with that. And I have a senior graduating. So honestly, I'm right now planning for a grad party.
When do they graduate?
May 20th is graduation.
Okay.
Do you still have the contact from my FAA?
I do. Oh, yes.
Okay, because I'm probably not going to be involved this year. That was kind of like an introduction.
Mhm.
You want engineers.
Well, and I've had, I
That's-
always want to say Johnny, but Joni.
Yeah.
She's who I reach out to
Good.
and she's been able to help us out. I think she's been at each of the career
Nice.
events.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see if we can get, there's a lot of STEM. So
Yes.
let's get, I would say,
Absolutely.
ask specifically
Yeah.
for some aerospace engineers, mechanical engineers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so next year's career fair at the high school specifically will shift and have a whole new set of individuals and representatives so that they're getting a variety each year and they can draw on those
Cool.
experiences. Yeah,
I may be behind, but is the new superintendent in place?
no, not yet,
Okay,
not yet.
but he's been named.
He has been named. I've actually worked with him while I was learning about real world learning. I spoke with him and kind of learned a lot from him as far as what they were doing at his school where he was. And the new high school principal, I've also worked with him and the high school where he currently is at Fort Osage. I work directly with the gal that's in my role there. So I'm familiar with him as well. And he's, I think our real world learning program will really,
Good.
has gained a lot with both of those two.
Are they paid internships, non-paid credit? How does it work?
So yes, for class credit,
Class credit.
and that's really up to the business partner, whether they're paid or unpaid. But it's, if they want to do paid, that's fine. The ones that are internal currently are not. We do some tech support that is started out as a job, really, that we're kind of transitioning into an internship. So they can be either.
Do the Smithville Police have anything like that, like a Cub Cadet program for kids that might be interested in law enforcement?
I'm not, I know they used to have like an academy, a junior academy that was 3 or 4 days long. I can't remember.
Yeah, they
Gina.
have a civic academy, but not an internship, but we are looking at developing an internship program. A question I had is how long are the internships normally? Is it a full semester? Is it a certain time frame?
At least a full semester. It wouldn't go the entire length of the semester just because I do an orientation with those students at the beginning of the semester and then check in. We don't have a teacher dedicated to an internship class, which most districts do. We're just not there yet.
Mhm.
So that's me. So a lot of times they'll do 4 days a week at the internship and 1 back at the district. And so we'll still have to work out some of those kinks. That's why we're starting small.
Mhm. And then the chairwoman's report.
Yes, so I have a few things, upcoming events. This Saturday is the citywide garage sale, put on by Smithville Main Street District. For anyone who does not know, we do an interactive Google map. So people who wish to participate and be listed on the map can notify us. And then anyone who comes for the garage sale can access that map through the link on our Facebook page and can see the map of where all of the listed garage sales are. So it's really cool. Really awesome for, driving around. You can see it there rather than looking down at a paper map. You can do all that. May 6th, we have the wine walk and Kentucky Derby wine walk and vendor fair. Tickets are $35 in advance, 40 at the door, 1 to 5 p.m. We have about 40 vendors lined up so far. We're still pushing for more tickets, but it usually spikes up a few days before, and we sell a ton at the door the day of as well. Then we have Larson's Cruise, May 13th, car show fundraiser. May 20th is the Volkswagen Blitz. So that's I think it's a regional or nationwide Volkswagen club. I forget, but it brings down a ton of really cool old vehicles and new. We have a volunteer information meeting for Wine Walk next Tuesday, May 2nd at 6 p.m. at Cornerstone Coffee. If anyone is interested in volunteering for that. May 16th, we have a 6 p.m. community engagement meeting for anyone who wishes to volunteer with Main Street. They can come chit chat with our volunteer coordinators, kind of get a feel for what all we do. We did also have last week our initial Missouri Main Street assessment, since we kind of had everything put off for so long with COVID. But I thought I wrote down some interesting tidbits from that training information that we went over, and I'll let you add any if you caught any that I didn't, but some thoughts that all small towns here that I thought was interesting, all of the empty storefronts that you may see, try and think of those as opportunities rather than failures. They also suggest maybe placing posters in windows of vacant buildings, suggesting ideas of what could go in those spots. So, a big poster, ideal restaurant space or your boutique here. They also have a very decent sized section on parking. Every small town has the misconception that there's no parking downtown. There usually is. It's just a matter of people being able to locate those blue signs, but they are available. So that was kind of funny to hear all of the different initiatives that they've done for parking in small towns. You know, one of them had a campaign that actually said there's nowhere to park downtown except for 2,037 spots. So I thought that made me feel a little bit better about all of the challenges and concerns that we face, that everyone faces those, and there are really good solutions and ideas out there. They did say another thing for ad campaigns to take candid photos of people walking on the trails, and, you know, using our trail options that we have and say, you know, no one walks here, but all these people. Let's see. And also the suggestion was there to work on employees not parking in prime spots right in front of businesses, that's a huge thing. And I do know it happens some down here where, you know, if we already do have the misconception that there's no parking and then you have people parking directly in front of their business, that's taking away from potential customers who are already a little bit agitated. The last thing I had is not from the Main Street training, but I did, I don't know if some of you may remember Sarah Uladall from CHOPS and I put in for the HGTV contest several years ago for Hometown Takeover, and we didn't win it. There were thousands of people who applied, but I have watched a few of the episodes of the city that did win, and it has been really cool seeing like the similarities between our town. They have a lot of their historic area, but then also some outskirt businesses and things that they really helped to kind of transform. So I don't know. I mean, I just thought it was really cool to see. And they have a Main Street district. They had, you know, that woman's been on quite a bit. Their Chamber of Commerce director has been on a lot. And it's been really cool watching and seeing how they have all come together. And
That's interesting. I mean, is there anything other than HGTV? Doesn't like Home Depot sometimes do things like that? I mean, would it be worth?
I don't know.
Just scour the internet and see, kind of like people that just apply for sweepstakes,
Sure,
right? You know what I
sure.
mean? We could just apply for Lowe's and Home Depot and
Yeah.
HGTV and just,
Yeah.
we might get lucky.
I think that would be really cool.
Might have to come up with a story though, right?
Yes, we don't have any stories. So that's pretty much all I had.
All right, and I'll start with the staff report. So we had a municipal election on April 4th. So Ward 1, Dan Hartman was reelected and he is now the Board of Aldermen representative on the EDC. For Ward 2, Melissa Wilson was elected, and for Ward 3, Leah Shipley was, and these are all going to be 4-year terms. So this is the first group that are part of the 4-year term. So excited about that. And then the recreational marijuana sales tax passed. So that is a 3% sales tax just for recreational marijuana purchases. And we will be monitoring that as it comes in. It is interesting because we only have one dispensary in Smithville, so we just have to be careful about how we report that information. But we'll start collecting that sales tax in October. And then last night was the TIF commission meeting for 110 Smithville, the apartment development with mixed use with commercial in the bottom in one of the areas, and that was passed by the TIF commission. So it will go to the Board of Aldermen for final approval. We have a window of 14 to 90 days for it to go to the Board of Aldermen. Part of that process is the contract negotiation between the city and the developer. But there can't be any kind of substantial changes to the TIF plan. So it'll stay really in line with what was presented to the TIF commission.
I have a question on that. We
Yes.
didn't really have a chance last night. Things, got a little wild.
Yeah.
They did mention the utility tax. Is that something that could be added in? That's not a substantial change, right?
So Gilmore and Bell, Megan Miller, she is looking into it. And that is something that the city is researching. So we'll see what that does. Basically, it just can't substantially change the plan. But that is something we're researching.
Okay.
Yeah. And then part of my staff report included the committee composition. We have been interviewing for the current vacancy. I did mention Hal Rudd in this, but we will be delaying that appointment because we had another applicant come forward. So we're going to do an interview process with them and make our final recommendation. So that'll most likely be at the May 16th Board of Aldermen meeting for the vacancy appointment. Future meeting dates, we have a conflict. So Erica and Dan serve on the University of Missouri Extension Council, and their meetings conflict with our current EDC meetings. So we could meet on the first Thursday of each month, the second or the third. And then we also have the availability for Monday or Wednesdays if Thursdays don't work for people. And you can change the time, just let me know. That's something we probably need to decide tonight. And the rest of my staff report is just a repeat of the goal setting that we've discussed at previous meetings. Some of the short-term goals we talked about was pursuing tourism. Long-term goals was land use and capitalizing on the airport redevelopment for KCI. And that's really geared towards attracting and identifying those niche businesses of like who we want to bring to Smithville. And so you guys can discuss that when we go through the goal setting discussion. So, any questions on that?
Any more updates on like occupancies and certificates of occupancy?
So I'll do that at the next one. We do
Okay.
those quarterly. Yeah.
Okay. And you said, so we have to figure out a new permanent time.
Yes. Yeah. New standing meeting. Since the Tuesday at 6:30 is a conflict going
Okay.
forward.
I mean, can we do that without everyone here? I know, it's kind of tough.
I think we kind of have to, unfortunately.
I'm good for Thursdays, Thursday night, same time as this, or some, you want to go earlier at 6 or something, but I'm flexible.
Same here, Thursday would be the best
Okay.
day of the week.
So Thursday at 6, is there a preference for first, second, or third Thursday of the month?
I cannot do Thursdays. But if that works best for everyone else, I mean, my kids have sports like 3 nights a week, so. But I can always, if we did move it up, that would probably be a little easier if we did 5:30 or 6. I don't know how early we can go.
I mean, it's only once a month, right?
Mhm.
I'm fine with whatever. It doesn't have to be Thursday. I can do Monday, Wednesday.
Are you, don't feel like you have
We
to.
do
agree
Fridays.
to
I have no
anything.
life. You know,
Night wouldn't be
I'm married
bad.
with kids, Friday night.
Wednesday would be better than Monday if Thursday doesn't work.
How about for you, Alicia? I mean, that's,
Wednesday would be better for
Okay.
me.
I
but
mean.
yeah.
I'm going to be completely flexible because we kind of,
Does Wednesdays work does anyone have a problem with Wednesday, 6 o'clock? I mean, do you want to do the last week just so we can keep some consistency, the last week of the month, Wednesday? So that way, instead of doing it Tuesday, we just push it another day. Is everyone okay with that?
Is it the 4th Tuesday that we're
Fourth would be the
currently doing?
4th.
So we would do the 4th Wednesday.
Okay.
stays.
No, let the new guy come in and change everything up. See how you are, Dan.
And I just wanted to kind of give everybody an update on, so Clay County University of Missouri Extension Council, I got elected for a 2-year term in February, and then the mayor just recently appointed Erica Winston. So this evening, we found out through some training that the MU extension brings economic impact to Missouri is 1.2 billion. And I clarified that. I thought it was million, but it is billion. And there was 542,000 participants last year in the extension program in the state of Missouri. So it's an honor to serve on the board. I'm still in that phase of learning what it's like to be a board of director for them, but I'm excited and really glad that Erica is able to join us too. So
What kind of, like, what can they do? Is it just networking? Do they have like grant money? Do they offer anything like,
sure, go ahead.
monetary or anything?
Well, I guess I was just going to question too.
Yeah.
4-H is what I know of.
Yeah,
when
yeah,
you talk about
4-H.
Missouri Extension, and I know they have events throughout the state.
Master Gardener program. So
Okay, what else does it entail?
their overall goal is to teach people how to grow food locally, which ties into
Mhm.
4-H as well.
Neighborhood.
Yeah. So it's in each, just so you understand kind of where the funding goes. So the funding comes from University of Missouri, some funding. Clay County has an extension office just like Platte County and Jackson County. We all operate independently as far as our P&Ls and balance sheets, but Clay County does give. And then there's some other things like we do soil tests for farmers that generate revenue, 4-H events. But yeah, that's overall. I'm most excited about the food program, you know, and teaching young people how to have sustainability and grow gardens. And
Well, the reason the extension program comes out of Missouri is Missouri's a land grant university. Its basis was research. So their job is to get the data from the research out to the people. So that can be through 4-H, could be through, you know, teaching people how to raise food. But all the county extension agents across the state, whatever region or county they're associated with, come from through the extension. And they could be livestock specialists, they could be crop specialists, environmental specialists. So it's quite an extensive program.
Great.
I mean, couldn't have put a number on it of 1.2 billion, but from an agricultural out in the field standpoint, they're probably not relied on as much as they were at one time. But in our state's history, in our country's history, the Extension Service had a huge impact on agriculture.
I wonder if you could, you know, once you get settled, if you could bring up maybe about like what is a good thing, what are good local, like, I don't want to say grasses, but you know, we have grass everywhere and we have flooding issues. So I'd be curious to what the extension would recommend for areas that see a lot of flooding. Are there, you know, things that you can plant,
Flood control plants.
flood control type plants, because grass doesn't do any of that. But it would be interesting because, you know, there's always people complain about the flooding. And I'd just be curious what they would maybe recommend for if, you know, if there's something you could plant into the ground in areas that are low lying, that are prone to flooding, that might help suck that water up, you know, something that doesn't cost any money,
Yeah,
right?
no, excellent. No, I will research that. And as I kind of get my arms around, they were talking a little bit when we had to come over to this meeting about also just really relying on municipality contacts, elected officials in each area. So I guess it's kind of a perfect fit. But like Megan Thompson, who's the Clay County Commissioner, sits on that board. And so it's good. I'm getting to know everybody and just kind of get my arms around it.
Great.
Smithville have a 4-H or an FFA program?
Very strong FFA program, yes. And 4-H is growing for sure.
You know, as our plans develop here on EDC with this agro hood, which is a term you said you didn't like.
No, it's terrible. It's a terrible name. Should come up with a different branding name.
It probably be a good idea to connect with the extension folks and maybe have somebody, either we meet with them or they have them come out to an EDC meeting.
Yeah, Gina, I could arrange that and coordinate with you that maybe they come out and just do a presentation at some point here in the near future.
Because I think we'd understand a full scope of what their capabilities are and might generate some ideas for us.
Yeah, and G.K. Callahan is the full-time individual that reports to the board, and so I'll speak with him and work with Gina on that.
Okay, great.
You're lucky. It's like my passion. If it was allowed socially, I would have like a garden in my front lawn. It's not.
All right, so just want to confirm, did we decide on Wednesday at 6 for the fourth Wednesday of the month?
Yes.
Okay. All right, and the next item on the agenda was the vice chair election, and this was tabled from the last meeting. We have a similar amount of attendance for this meeting, so I don't know if we want to table this again. It is totally up to you all.
I think we should go ahead and do it.
I agree.
We just keep putting it off, you know, once, especially with summer coming and people are absent for vacations and things. I think we should just go ahead and do. Does anybody want to be the vice chair?
I think I know what a vice chair does, but want somebody to enlighten me as to what a vice chair does other than fills in for the chair.
Probably a better job than me, no matter what.
No,
It's fine.
Too hard on yourself. But yeah, so basically the vice chair would just serve as the chair if ever Alicia wasn't here.
Right, that's what I thought.
Mhm.
There's no other real responsibilities. I wasn't
I
lobbying
think he's
for it.
planning a hostile takeover.
I wasn't
the EDC.
I wasn't lobbying, I was just asking clarifying questions.
I think that's a great question.
I would be willing to do it.
Okay, so
Well,
I'll move to nominate Steve as vice
Okay.
chair.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, you
All
asked a
right.
question and now you're vice chair. Are you okay with being vice
I
chair?
feel like I just got voluntold.
Very sneakily. Are you okay with
I'm
it?
okay, yeah.
Okay, we
Now
probably should
I-
ask that before. we
Honorary member of the military, voluntold.
Well, congratulations, Steve.
Thanks. So now you're gonna tell me you're gonna be gone for the next 3 meetings?
I
or-
am, I cannot make it.
All right, and then the next is just more discussion on the goal setting. So I'll open it up to you all.
I'd like to jump in here. So I've got some business cards to hand out. Here's one. You already got
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean,
it. You don't need one. You've got probably time. You can pass 2 down. Is it possible to bring up the comprehensive strategic plan? Specifically Appendix A? Well, actually, let's do before that, 7.1,
Which plan?
the 2030 comprehensive strategic plan. And we can probably go to 7.1. I believe that's the beginning of the implementation matrix. No, that's why she's gonna bring it up and you'll see kind of like where I think I have an idea. You two already have like your own, you're the chamber, you do the school. So anything school related, you're already probably doing. I think this is more for some of us who don't necessarily have a defined role. That's what Steve was talking about when he's like, well, what am I supposed to be doing? And I think I have some sort of idea that might help us get there. But obviously I gotta get the feedback from the group.
I wish everyone at home could see the glorious binder that Adam has
Page-
up here. It's
page
beautiful.
72.
Really,
Not a
with
gorgeous
all the
binder.
tabs and-
So nice.
This comprehensive plan is a big part of why I moved to this community.
I love
So
it.
I'm gonna be honest, when we were looking at where we wanted to go and I came and saw that this town had a comprehensive plan, I was like, that's a town I want to move to because they already know what they want, right? So it's not gonna be a bunch of, what do we want to do and who do we want to be? It's already here for us. This is like everything we need, I believe, to be successful has already been given to us in terms of strategic. All I think we need to do is come up with a tactical approach to how we can, how can we implement what they've told us we need to implement? So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about with up here. So as you move through, you can start to just kind of scroll. If you can go to the next page. So we won't have, obviously, people won't be able to do the defined roles tonight, but I think maybe for the next meeting, we'll give people a month to kind of go through and see what kind of fit they might want. But like, so the first one is diverse housing and neighborhood options pillar. So that's one pillar, right? Of the implementation matrix, and there's multiple different subcategories underneath. So what I was thinking is that those of us who don't have a defined role already, we could go through here and pick out the pillar that you feel you'd be best at. Some of it's like tourism, others business. I know, like for me, I was drawn to the industry portion. That's not something that, a lot of people think about too much, but the more I got to thinking, we don't have a large industrial base, but generally industrial jobs are very good paying jobs. And that's something that if you could get a high tech manufacturing type jobs, that would kind of coincide with also the real world learning program, right? If we could have, and I'm thinking in terms of when I do it, I'm probably going to be reaching out for more info, and I might, if I can get someone like on the hook, be reaching out to draw them in, because I think if you have a base, that's going to be attractive for something like that. But then we could take that for whatever people want to do. So if I wanted to do industry, but somebody else wanted to do tourism, we pick out the pillar, and then can we go to, I'm not going to go through every pillar tonight. That's on your own. I think for the next month, everyone should read through the 7.1 and see if there's anything in there that, you might be passionate about. So Appendix 8.0 is the land use map. And I think this is where this is going to kind of tie in, is we pick our sectors or pillars that we're looking to do. And then what we can do is, no, a little bit more, down to 8. We use the land use map to pinpoint those locations. So an example would be like, let's say we do find someone that's interested in there it is. Right? So these are all of the different land use opportunities. So as we're going through, you want to make sure that your pillar is matching up with the proper land use, right? So if we do decide that, oh, we got someone who wants to build an agri-hood, we have to make sure that we have the land use for it. And then once we identify that, then we can start actually meeting with the owners of the property and bringing them our ideas and seeing if they're interested. So like I would go to, find out who's got the industrial, and this will tie back into the GIS. I'm hoping maybe next meeting we could pull that up as well to show everyone. The Smithville GIS maps, they have a new map system that has these overlays, and that's where you can get real granular, because you can go into the overlay and then pick the property parcels. So that way we can actually be a little strategic in who we want to approach based off of the project we might want to do. So I'm throwing that out there. I think that would be a good way for us to kind of actually have a direction for bringing Jack, right? So we talked to Jack, and Jack doesn't have time to do this. He's got stuff that he has to do day to day.
He wishes he could. Yeah.
Probably, but we're the people that can actually make contact, put together marketing, try to do the pitches, try to build rapport. And then once we've got someone who's interested, then we can hand them off to Jack. And Jack can go into the details about what it would entail to do whatever specific project we've talked to them about. So I think that would be a good way for us to kind of push forward with the mission. And really, we don't have any strategic stuff to do. It's all just, following what's in the guidebook and then going out there and doing kind of recruiting, building rapport. And then once we get someone that might be interested, we hand them over to Jack, and we can stay, obviously he'll probably keep us involved. But I'm opening it up. What do y'all think about that as a way to divvy up our work?
You made a comment last month about meeting with Jack, and what I understood the comment to say was that a lot of the zoning was already in place.
Yep.
That mean infrastructure's in place as well, like water and sewer, or?
No, what they mean
Okay.
is if you look at
Right.
the next meeting, we'll do the Smithville. I don't know if am I allowed to drive at these meetings? Or do you do all the driving?
You can bring your laptop and share your screen.
Okay.
So that works.
Okay. When you see the overlays, what he meant was that they've already incorporated, like R1, R2, R3 zoning. So we already have large swaths of land.
Designated
that
as
you can-
residential.
Yeah, and you can build multifamily, single apartments, like it's already they've done mixed use.
Okay,
So
and you had a D designation you mentioned last week.
D.
Did I misunderstand?
I don't know about D. I don't think there's a D zoning. There's like B1, B2, B3, R1,
Maybe it's D.
probably what,
I
like
heard D.
business 1, business 2, and
Okay.
business 3. But when you go onto if you go to somewhere like the Smithville GIS and you click the zoning overlay, then you click on a section, it gives you exactly what it's zoned for.
Okay,
So that way, like, we're not going into an A1 property, which is agricultural 1, and then being like, how would you like to do, what was the one you liked? The container homes,
Oh, yeah.
right? The
Yep,
container
container
homes,
homes.
right? So we'd want to do that in a R1, R2, R3 zone, because then they can do, the new types of housing versus the traditional types of housing.
for industrial, what's the zoning category? for
Just
that?
I1, and it's just light manufacturing, so there's no heavy industrial. So that's why, like, I would be looking at high-tech manufacturing, maybe warehousing, but probably not. Like biomedical,
I was gonna say biomedical.
aerospace parts. I think a lot of that's gonna be reshored. We'll see what happens with Germany. Germany is known for having very high-tech manufacturing, because they have been doing the real world learning for like the last 50 years. So they actually send a lot of their children to trade schools that aren't interested necessarily in going on to higher ed. And that gives them a real good filler for a continuous group of high-tech manufacturing. And I'd love to take a chunk of it.
And Steve, what's great about this is that, like, for example, industrial, we have two locations, one up near the post office area, that's classified industrial, and then First Park, which is behind the fire station, I believe Taylor Plumbing, and there's a cabinet shop there. But they have rooms still. I mean, they are infilling, but and then to your point, shovel ready is what I think about versus there has to be some development. There, you know, most of the business and or industrial, some residential, they have nearby facilities, but they still have to build in the infrastructure, the water, sewer connections, streets, different things like that. So
Usually up to the developer then to put that in.
yes, in the case of First Park, the city requirements now are that if you're going to build out a development area, that you've got to have those put in. Absolutely, yes.
It's not the city's expense.
It's not the city's expense,
Okay.
no. I mean, after, I guess technically, Gina, correct me if I'm wrong, after it's been turned over, the city would maintain, but
Yeah.
it's developers' expense. And there's requirements of those.
Is it the first, as soon as like if someone's building a subdivision, as soon as the first certificate of occupancy, isn't that when usually the bond gets taken over by the town? Or do they have to fill the entire subdivision?
I would have to check with our public works director on that one. But there
Usually
is
that's how-
there is a certain threshold of when it
Yeah.
switches over. Yeah.
Yeah, once you have enough houses and certificates of occupancy, then usually the developer will then say, not my problem anymore. And historically, that's actually caused issues in the past. I'd say substandard road development is probably the biggest expense every town deals with, is if they build a road and they don't do it properly. And 10 years, all of a sudden, you're finding all these issues and there's nothing you can do about it because now the town owns it. And then it costs a lot of money to redo and fix substandard roads. So that's usually, I think, where the biggest, you know, I assume there's a road agent or something similar that goes out there and make sure they're doing it properly.
Yes, yeah, we have inspectors that go out, and then, you know, we have our plan development review as well, and our public works director reviews all of those too.
Are the GIS maps on the city of Smithville website?
Yes, it is.
It's really cool.
It is.
I haven't had a chance to play with it too much, but you can do a lot.
Yeah, so we can go over that more extensively for the next meeting, but yeah, it's online
I'd
right
like to
now.
Play with it.
Yeah, I can send out that link. I'll ask Chuck Souls, our public works director, about your question, and I can email you all a response and the link. And then I did want to highlight in the packet, I did include as part of the comprehensive plan, the strengthened business and economic development pillar. And then I included all the updates of what we have been doing so far. So that would be a good pillar to explore as well for the EDC.
I think that's a great idea of what you're thinking about, because it kind of then gets buy-in from the EDC members. And I mean, I'm glad to be able to participate with that as well.
7 years comes up fast, right? So I imagine at the end of the 2030 that there's going to be a review and they're going to look at how many of these pillars have we actually reached, right?
Yes, and I mentioned last time, staff has been working on making a dashboard for the comprehensive plan. And once that is finalized, we'll roll that out just so we can see our progress, see, you know, what have we checked off so far? What needs work still, what hasn't started. So we want to check in on that more regularly, and we'll be doing the same with our strategic plan as well.
And what's good too is some of these we're already working on, like prioritize a vibrant downtown,
Mhm.
right? So it's like we should also be taking credit for the work that we're already doing,
Mhm.
because a lot of these things kind of coalesce. They're not just out there on their own. And this would be another way for when the time comes for us to kind of report out,
Mhm.
what have we been doing? We can kind of put that all into a report to show.
Yeah, and then I seen the comp plan did as well, is kind of identify those responsible parties of the stakeholders that can help with those kind of initiatives. So that would be a good thing to pay attention to as well.
Number of housing development projects kind of in various stages. I mean, I know you didn't have the permits. I just wondered if it had slowed down as far as permitting on housing. When I was here 2 months ago, it seemed like they were down
Yeah.
significantly.
Yeah, so definitely coming, in the winter, we don't have as many permits, but it was pretty low. So when I do the quarterly update for the next meeting, we can see comparison data for last year as well. And I'm gonna include the occupancy for that as, so we can see that kind of data.
What did, Carol, from the school standpoint, you picking up any rumblings about what they're thinking about they need to be prepared for in the next 1 to 5 years as far as population or schools or expansions or anything? Okay,
I mean, the bond just passed for capital improvements.
right.
Oh, and just make sure to use your mic. Wrong. You're good.
Sorry, we had grown so rapidly. And then it plateaued. I have not seen the numbers
Yeah.
and the projections.
Usually a bond covers what you already know. And-
Yes,
and a 2 year,
yes.
kind of a 2 year window. It's what do you not know and what is it beyond 2 years?
I mean, based off if we get certificate of occupancies, I mean, we can do, not exact math, but we can make assumptions, right? Like if you look at, you could look at statistics to say like how many kids are in a normal household. So it's like, okay, well, we've had 50 new certificates of occupancy, and if the average is like, one out of every 3 homes has a child, then we can do some rough estimates. Obviously, it won't be exact, but it can at least give you an idea.
If we do any multifamily or,
Yep, same thing, per unit, you can do it per unit. I'd have to look up the number. I did it before when I did a report on impact fees. But it's not as much as people think, actually. And the part of that is that Americans aren't having babies. That's a big reality is that, we maintain our demographics mostly through migration and immigration at this point. When it comes to, people here in America that have lived here having babies, it's not like it was in the 70s, 80s and 90s. It is really, kind of gone down. But I can look at census data too, to see if the census has an idea of what the average per kid is in Smithville.
Yeah, Steve, also, and Adam, you may or may not know this, Future IQ was hired by the Smithfield School District
did put the numbers in
and
there.
they're finalizing. I was able to participate as a citizen in some of the feedback on that. So I don't know if you have any updates on it other than it sounds like it's coming along. I don't know if the board has a timeline of adoption or not, but
I don't know, honestly. I was involved to some degree as well in those early discussions, but it was helpful to have the same group that was working with the city to work with the school
Absolutely.
district.
It was
in that
the-
plan.
Working with them at the think tanks, that was great to have the same. And they also work with a lot of Main Street, the National Main Street Foundation. I forget if it's considered a foundation or what. Main Street, they work with them a lot, and it's really nice to have that correlation.
it might be the school through their study will figure out where we're going population wise faster than we will.
yeah, I think they release, my understanding is they'll release the numbers in the fall. I think they get, in fact, Mr. Hedgecourt probably talked about it last evening, that the numbers vary from month to month. It's enrollment, school lunches, different things like that. But my understanding is they'll have a number that'll will be public at some point this fall.
And I've got the numbers here. So the IQ, they predicted that Smithville's population may increase by approximately 2,700 to 4,200 new residents over the next 10 years. So I can go online and try to look at, that's what they're saying, yeah. 25 to 38.
Hit it about 11,000.
They're assuming an annual growth.
Right now.
Yeah, they're assuming an annual growth rate of about 2.2 to 3.3,
What are those
Um,
numbers from, Adam? Is that from
2030 projections.
from
Future
when?
IQ.
From Future
when?
IQ, the contractors who.
Yes, from when though?
Yeah.
When
It
were
was
those
done
numbers
prior
published?
to the census, Carol, but I think it was just based on forecasting kind of average growth of communities, different
Yeah.
things. So there wasn't any hard
No.
numbers, but of course, in 2020, we had the census, and 2030 we'll have it again, but I do know the Census Bureau, I just learned this, that they do continue to update though throughout the year, and every year I mean, they're not taking account, if you will, but they do.
I have them. I have the census numbers.
Well, that plan was done though, how long ago,
Such a dork.
Adam?
What's that? This was 2020. So the,
Comp plan was 2020,
2020.
and we haven't seen the population growth as aggressive as this was estimating, but we, keep an eye on it. And we are moving towards an upward direction.
yep. So right now, the town has 10,532. Population change from April 2020 to 2021, their estimate was only 1.4. So it was under the 2.2. Kearney, and I super dorked it out to compare us to Kearney and Excelsior Springs. Excelsior Springs is at 10,741, and no, Excelsior Springs is 10,589, and Kearney is 10,741. So we're all, those three communities we're all tracking similar growth rates. I didn't include them. They're not really, they're so low.
Yeah.
So I only really picked, I picked Liberty too, because Liberty is a bigger city. And I don't think Platt's gonna see the growth, at least not when I was looking at their home prices. For such a small town, they had some pretty expensive homes out there.
Liberty's kind of getting plugged up, in my opinion, but
A little bit.
seems like 152 across from Liberty to Platte County, north and south is where the growth is gonna be.
And Liberty is a good example, I think, for possibly what not to do.
Absolutely.
Because I think one of the things people get confused about too is when they talk about, we don't want to be a city. Like Liberty's not a city in my mind. It's a suburb, right? So when people talk about city, I think really they're concerned about is suburbification, right? Mini malls, big box stores, taking away business from small businesses and moving it into, giant multinational corporations where you got Olive Gardens and Red Lobsters, but you don't have any local restaurants with local chefs. That's why I like this comprehensive 2030 plan, because it doesn't really do that. It realizes that that's a risk that the town does not want. And I think that if we stick to this, then when people get concerned about some of the growth, we can explain to them like why we're doing what we're doing, because we don't want to be this big giant suburb where you have to drive everywhere and there's nowhere to walk.
Being carefully curated,
Yeah.
the growth,
Yeah.
rather than just, willy-nilly throw up a target or whatever.
And it's interesting for me coming from the Northeast, because you all are starting to, you're about 30 years behind in the Northeast. That's legitimate, right? So the growth in the Northeast that saw suburbification started in the 70s, and it was unplanned and unmanaged. So that's why it just got out of control, because there was no one there to manage it. So anytime anyone came in, okay, you can take that conservation land and build a Costco, or yeah, sure, you can build a BJ's, right? No one was really thinking about things like walkability. Then again, things were cheaper, right? Asphalt was cheaper, labor was cheaper. Gas was cheaper, right? 87. I remember when I first started driving, it's like 87 cents a gallon. So I think we're in a position now to learn from that, right? So that we know not to make those same mistakes. That's why I really like this comprehensive plan, because it gives a nice guidebook to follow.
So you mentioned that we'll just, again, look at it some more, and then kind of before next time, hopefully everyone will be here and we can really dive into what roles and responsibilities we want to have.
Yeah.
Everybody good with that?
We ought to be recruiting, make sure people, unless they're dead or in a coma, they show up. Can we do that?
Maybe that's a role for you as vice chair.
Yes.
I'll be the-
And you to go knock on their
I'll be the bad
doors.
cop.
The
Knock on the
kneecaps
door.
guy.
Hey, we got a meeting. What are you doing?
Is there any new business for next time? I don't have any.
I did mention the GIS mapping. At some point, maybe we can show it off next week just so everyone can see it. But I did ask Gina if it'd be possible for us to get training on it,
Mhm.
because I've been playing around with it and there's a lot. And I'm pretty tech savvy, and even I'm like, whoa, there's a lot going on here.
How much horsepower does your computer need to have to be able to manage?
No, it's just,
It's not that.
no, that, it's not
Okay.
really,
I
yeah,
love it.
that's not the issue. It's, I don't know, what's the platform? Do you know? Do you have any idea what it was built on?
So we contracted with Survey and Mapping and it is their system. So they built it from the ground up. So it has a lot of workflows in there. So it's very unique and user friendly for us. It's great. I love having it.
It reminds me of tools I've used in the government, but the reality is like you either use it or you lose it, right? So like, it's one of those tools that if you don't use it for like 3 months, you probably get back in there and be like, how do I do this again?
Yeah, and they have YouTube
3
training
months.
videos. It's a lot. Has a lot
Couple
of
months.
useful tools on there. So we can definitely have a training on it in the future if everyone's interested in that.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah, we'll definitely do that.
Well, I'm good with the motion to adjourn if
I've got
anyone.
one
Oh,
point.
sure, go ahead.
The other thing we talked about was getting county extension out here at some point.
Mhm.
I think it could fall into new business. I think that would really,
Great.
you know, if we could not only understand what the county extension offers, but let them know what Smithfield's thinking and how we can, if there's 1.2 billion out there, then what's that mean for Smithfield?
Are we doing all we can to utilize what's available?
Right.
Absolutely. No, I concur, Steve. We'll work on that and it'll be great to have them. I know they'll be glad to come. So I'll work with
Yeah.
Them and Gina.
I mean, I don't know any of them specifically, but people who go into county extension don't do it to become rich. Because they have a passion for helping
Absolutely.
people and the whole food supply chain.
Yeah, it'd be great to just, I mean, I would, I don't know, like, I mean, my vision or whatever, I think would be awesome if like the downtown on summer nights, music, dancing, and then you had local artisans, you know, local people who maybe they have goats and they make their own goat lotion. Not that I never thought about that, you know, I mean, or goat soaps. You ever had soap made out of goat's milk? It's, you know, it smells
Never have.
nice.
Um,
Because Margaret Chamos, I believe, has a business called Goats on the Go. And
Isn't that great?
she,
It's awesome.
she is also sits on the board, so it'd be great. Yeah, there's it's tremendous amount of brain power and
Yeah.
folks.
I
on
feel
that
like that's an
crowd.
untapped market where people who maybe they do bees and they want to make local honey, but then they need a place to sell it. Well, it looks like we have a nice downtown open space. So all those like craft people that do agriculture, like I would love to be able to capture that and bring them into the downtown and let them sell their wares, right? Because then everybody gets a little bit of, city gets sales tax, they get to sell their stuff and it's organic,
We have-
local.
we have a
We have
farmer's
farmer's
market for that.
market, but yeah, pairing it up with the extension would be great.
Yes, I think the extension could really bring the farmer's
Mhm.
market to life.
Yeah.
And they've
Agreed.
kind of been trying to come up with ideas to really revamp and increase
Yeah.
the interest in the farmer's market anyway. So I think that'd be
Do we
awesome.
get crafts down there or is it just food?
Oh, it's both.
They do both.
They do both.
Yeah.
We
It's
do
a
have local
farmers
artisans.
and makers
Yeah,
market.
and I feel
Good.
like we have vendors. We just need to get the people here,
Absolutely.
That's,
right? That's where the issue comes in. I think more than the vendors, those, we have the
Mhm.
local wares,
Mm-hmm.
but just. shoppers.
100%.
it'd be great if it's just like, oh, I know Friday night down in Smithville is gonna be busy. I'm just, you
Mhm.
know, do they have a peddler's license? How does that work?
Yeah, they would apply for a special event license.
Special event license?
If it's a larger scale kind of thing, but if not, I would have to check with our parks director on the
Okay.
permitting process.
I think as of right now, it's like an umbrella permit.
Yeah.
And then everybody that sells for it,
Mhm.
all the individual vendors just sell underneath that
Yeah.
permit.
That's
yeah.
based off events, right? That's what I'm saying is like, it would
Yeah.
be,
Well, I'll have to
event
double
permit.
check
Yeah.
with the farmer's market, is kind of its own thing. And then if it was an additional, like a Friday night, it might be considered an event.
Mhm.
So I just need to double check on that.
Awesome. Anyone want to make a motion to adjourn?
We'll move.
Second.
All in favor?
Hi.
Aye.